Good evening. This is Pamela, and you're listening to Watchmen on the Pod. All right, we are going to continue, pick back up where we left off in the book, The Pope, Chief of White Slavers, High Priest of Intrigue. And this is from Jeremiah J. Crowley. And you could find this book on James lowercase JAMESJPN.net. And what he does is he types out books and puts it on his website, and we are able to read them. And I enjoy this very much. Okay, this is part of the circular referred to above is here given. Most remarkable book of the age! Exclamation point. Romanism, a menace to the nation. The new and original work by Jeremiah J. in parentheses Father Crowley, second edition, together with his former book, The Parochial School, A Curse to the Church, A Monaco to the Nations, 2 books in one. A searchlight on the papal system, startling changes against individuals in the Roman Catholic hierarchy, made and filed by the author and a score of prominent priests with letters, affidavits, canceled checks, photographic proofs, etc., exposing Rome's traffic in religion, sin, and shame. Stupendous exposures of the political influence of the Roman Catholic Church in municipal, state, and federal governments. This volume recites the authentic experiences of a man who occupies the unique position of having voluntarily withdrawn from the priesthood and membership of the Church of Rome without being canonically excommunicated. Concerning Crowley and his unanswerable book, Rome is as silent as the grave. Why? Because she dare not reply. However, she is secretly striving to prevent its circulation with such aid as she can command from certain employees in the postal service and time-serving politicians of diverse church affiliations. The charges in this book are either true or false. If true, the crafty, guilty priesthood and prelacy of Rome are a living menace to decency, truth, and liberty. A portentous danger to clean living and pure home life. They should be, as such, prosecuted and punished by their respective governments. The governments of several Catholic countries have already dealt vigorously with this dread, ever-present menace to national, social, and individual life. Italy, France, Mexico, Latin America generally, and Portugal have banished religious orders, monks, and nuns, either wholly or partially. Other Catholic governments are making ready to follow their footsteps. What the governments of Roman Catholic countries have done, what the governments of Roman Catholic countries have done or are preparing to do, America, Great Britain, and Germany must soon do. Why? Read this book. If my specific charges were false, Rome surely would not hesitate to prosecute me. Truth. Why should any of the civil authorities, real or seeming allies of the papacy, fail to take fitting action against me as a libeler? Legal prosecution has not been and shall not be invoked against me. For Rome and its governmental allies know full well that my distinct, repeated, and specific charges would be before any tribunal of a free country, not only substantiated, but reaffirmed and emphasized with a hundredfold force. Since I first turned the searchlight on priests, prelates, and the princes of the church, some of those, by me specifically, charged with crime, have died by their own hand. Some from drunkenness, others from unprintable diseases. But the majority of the surviving phalanx of accused, wicked Roman hierarchs have been promoted or otherwise rewarded for brazen criminality, accepted as single service to church and pope. Nay, more. Some of my one-time ecclesiastical cooperators and financial backers, for example, Reverends Cashman, Smith, McNamee, Croak, Foley, et al., see page 54 of this book, had bartered conviction for advancement and profit at the hands of ecclesiastical authorities whom they once bitterly assailed. Easy, therefore, to see why they also prefer to keep operating lucratively among deluded Catholics and self-seeking non-Catholics. All done, of course, for God's greater honor and glory, with the authority, approbation, and blessing of Holy Father, Pope Pius X, Vicar of Christ, our Lord God the Pope, King of heaven, earth, and hell. The Vatican's policy, that of cunning, calculating guilt's systematic silence, should not be permitted to cover, even for one moment, from gaze of a confiding people, the awful criminality and frightful perils confronting the nations. Every citizen, be he Protestant, Catholic, Jew, or non-churchgoer, all governmental agencies should combine to rid mankind of this vile incubus of treason, corruption, and organized diabolism, the papal system. Every man interested in the race's welfare, every lover of truth, enlightenment, and liberty, the world over, should insist upon a stern and thorough investigation of the stupendous charges formulated and promulgated by myself and my associates, lay and clerical. This volume will enlighten you, it will guard you, and through you and your country against the abominable conspiracies of Romanism. Oh, excuse me, I'm so very sorry. That snuck up on me. This volume will enlighten you, it will guard you, and through you, your country, against the... I'm going to sneeze again. All right, conspiracies of Romanism. Many judicious readers declare this book is a storehouse of incontrovertible facts, estimating it in the same way the Roman hierarchs fear that its dissemination will bring about a revolution in the Church of Rome, dethroning spiritual despots, great and small, uprooting ecclesiastical rapacity and diabolism forever. Wow. Excuse me, I'm so sorry that I sneezed. All right, I'm turning the page here. All right. Letter to President Wilson. March 17th, 1913. The Honorable Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States, Washington, D.C. Your Excellency. Called by an observant, appreciative, and admiring people to the highest office in the world's gift, you have, in a career of singular and significant success, proceeded from position to position, advanced from responsibility to responsibility, ever justifying in your friends' estimation the tribute paid to traveler of old. Change their climate, but not the soul of those who run across the sea. Places indeed you have changed, but wherever duty has laid command on you, a remarkable fixity of purpose has animated your resolve, guided your determinations, and ennobled your successes. You have, sir, as college professor and as president of a great university, inspired the flower of American youth, the worship of loftiness in ideals and purity in practice. You have stimulated ambition, fostered courage, developed righteousness, enlarged generosity, and directed way unerringly as well as invitingly to success, untarnished by malevolence and unclouded by injustice. I'm sorry, I said that kind of like weird. Let me redo that. You have stimulated ambition, fostered courage, developed righteousness, enlarged generosity, and directed way unerringly as well as invitingly to success, untarnished by malevolence, unclouded by injustice. You have, as governor of one of America's historic commonwealth, shown firmness, foresight, and constructiveness in dealing with the complex problems of popular self-government, constantly arising under our political system. To one feature in particular of your administrative methods I may be permitted to refer. For American citizenship, you hold reverential regard for American citizens both as individuals and en masse. You prove ready to use all constitutional powers in you vested as safeguard and against bosses and bossism. No citizen, however humble, suffering from injustice of any character, has been so far by you given deaf ear. You have, in your magnificent inaugural address, made appeals and defined principles which are at once an inspiration and augury. Take, for instance, the following. The firm basis of government is justice, not pity. The first duty of law is to keep sound the society it serves. The feelings which we face this new age of right and opportunity sweep across our heartstrings like some air out of God's own presence, where justice and mercy are reconciled and the judge and the brother are one. Again, these words of warning. There has been something crude and heartless and unfeeling in our haste to succeed and be great. Then, the forceful declaration dictated by fearless introspection. Our life contains every great thing and contains it in great abundance. But the evil has come with the good, and much fine gold has been corroded. I rejoice, Mr. President, to find you in such thorough accord with your illustrious predecessor and fellow Virginian, George Washington, who said, I know that as on one side, no local prejudices, no separate views or partly animosities must misdirect the comprehensive and equal eye which ought to watch over this great assemblage of communities and interests. So, on another, the foundations of our national policy must be laid in the pure and immutable principles of private morality and the preeminence of a free government be exemplified by all the attributes which can win the affections of its citizens and command the respect of the world. There exists in the economy of nature an indissoluble union between virtue and happiness and between duty and advantage. With the immortal Jefferson, you believe equal and exact justice to all men of whatever state or persuasion, religious or political, peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, the support of the state governments in all their rights, the preservation of the general government in its whole constitutional vigor, absolute acquittance in the decisions of the majority, the vital principles of republics from which is no appeal but to force. The vital principle and immediate parent of despotism, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of person. This road alone leads to peace, liberty, and safety. Side by side with the solemn, undying utterances of these early chieftains in American statesmanship will history place your own matchless definition of national duty and of individual obligation. At last, a vision has been vouchsafed us on our life as a whole. We see the bad with the good, the debased and the decadent with the sound and vital. With this vision, we approach new affairs. Our duty is to cleanse, to reconsider, to restore, to correct the evil without impairing the good, to purify and humanize every process of our common life without weakening or sentimentizing it. There has been something crude and heartless in our unfeeling haste to succeed and be great. Our thought has been that every man look out for himself, that every generation look out for itself. While we have reared giant machinery which made it impossible that any but those who stood at the levers of control should have a chance to look out for themselves. With striking and gratifying stress as well as unanimity, the American press receives your inaugural declarations as expressions of patriotism above question, of promise above doubt, of determination without hint or suggestion of failure. Beginning with my home city, I find, sir, the Cincinnati Post writing. In his inaugural address, today the new president is like a reborn Lincoln. For the first time in our generation, the nation is asked by its elected head to count the human cost of greed and reckless ambition, to put men and women and little children before mere dollars. Thus does the counsel of William Jennings Bryan, rejected with seeming scorn in 1896, become in 1913 a very brief time as time is measured in history, the will of the majority. For, make no mistake, the country is back of this appeal. back of it so sincerely, with such firmness of determination, that no new outpouring of predatory money can debauch its purpose, no trickery or intrigue long delay the accomplishment of its aims. The New York Times gives stately form to a general sense of approval. No president of the United States in any utterance ever sounded a higher or clearer note of aspiration and idealism than Woodrow Wilson in his inaugural address yesterday. It is perhaps the most carefully studied, concise, and deeply moving expression that has yet been given to the new ideas which have become a force in our politics. The address will become a profound impression upon the American people and upon the friends of progress and of this republic throughout the world. The people of this country will be inspired by the President's word, inspired, we hope, with a resolve to do their part in accomplishing the noble purposes to which he dedicates and devotes his administration. Inspired, too, with confidence in their new President, Mr. Wilson speaks as a just man, as a man moved with the desire, with the intention to see that justice is done among men. The Republican New York Tribune tenders congratulations in terms truly fitting. President Wilson is to be congratulated on the scope and tenure of his inaugural address. The speech is credibility full of vision and ideas. It breathes a sincere desire to help the country forward, to protect and uplift the weak and those of narrowed opportunity, and to give free scope to the feelings of the new age which seek to bring into the conduct of human affairs a larger measure of mercy and justice. Filled with hope, the New York Sun defines its attitude very cheerfully. We quote 5 words from President Wilson's inaugural: "We shall restore, not destroy." This is the promise, the pledge, the platform. If the promise is kept, the pledge redeemed, the platform obeyed, the administration now being with a good will and good wishes and best hopes and reserved judgment of all of Woodrow Wilson's fellow citizens, will be in the truest sense progressive and in the truest sense conservative. And what more could any patriotic American desire? Not to be outdone by Eastern contemporaries, the Chicago Tribune adds, "The inaugural address of President Wilson is an utterance singularly lofty in tone and felicitous of phrase. It is less a state document than an invocation, a prayer. In that sense, Americans of all parties will devoutly respond, Amen." At any rate, the new president has made an appeal to his fellow countrymen which will touch their loyalty and bring the cordial wish that he may cap high aspirations with noble achievements. From cold and classic New England come the Boston Globe's cordial acknowledgments. The voice is the voice of a prophet and a leader. It remains to be seen whether the hand is the hand of a strong man equal to the greatest task in the world. Animated, sir, by the conviction that you are both prophet and leader, I call attention respectfully to the intolerable injustice on me personally and through me on the American public as set forth in the columns of the Menace, a paper of national standing and circulation. Jesuitical influences have, sir, busied themselves in protecting a Romanist offender and perpetuating the outrage by that Romanist offender on an anti-Romanist American citizen, unafraid of publishing the unhallowed personal experiences of 21 years of priestly life, the execrable purposes and stupendous crimes of Vaticanist agents and representatives. Persona gratissimus is Postmaster Montfort of Cincinnati to the Jesuits, as the Commercial Tribune, Cincinnati, February 6, 1913, very fully establishes. The Jesuit colony in Cincinnati is, sir, one of the oldest and most successful of that crafty order's establishment in the United States. It lavishes no such attentions as those extended so munificently to Postmaster Montfort without such strong motives as recognition of services done the order, hope of further favors for protégés such as the profane, obscene, and blasphemous Herney, expectation of continued injured and outrage to be visited upon anti-Romanist citizens like myself through complacent post office officials. When Hurney offered me grossest insult, he was, sir, clerk in the mailing division of the Cincinnati Post Office. He was therefrom assigned about December 1st, 1912, to Station 1, Avondale. He now, I am credibly informed, and have reason to believe, comes to the General Post Office every day from Avondale to serve for 8 hours, inserting all mail going to Avondale, a leading suburb of Cincinnati, of which mail he is during these hours in full control. It would from all this seem to ordinary observers that outrage and insult upon inoffensive and unoffending American citizens by Roman Catholic post office officials establishes for the offender strongest claim to protect, advancement, and reward. The true attitude of the Romanisms we have in our midst is, sir, denned with great emphasis and overpowering lucidity by the Reverend David S. Phelan, LL.D., rector of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish, St. Louis, Missouri. Editor of the Western Watchman, official organ of Archbishop Glennon, active candidate for a red hat and high place among the princes of the church. Editor Finland enjoys not only the confidence of Cardinal that would be Glennon, but proudly points to the encomium of Cardinal Satolli, who declared him the dean and senior of the Roman Catholic journalists of the United States. The citation I offer from Editor Phelan's assaults on American citizens, on American loyalty, on American brotherliness, on the basic principles of the American Declaration of Independence, has never been disavowed by any higher church authority, nor explained away, even in the smallest measure, by its own author. The utterances of priest Editor Phelan are, therefore, the official declaration of war on American institutions by the papal system in the United States. Why does Papal Delegate Satolli praise Phelan? Because Phelan is doing the will of his master in the Vatican. Why does Glennon of St. Louis so ardently cooperate with Finland and make use of Finland's journalistic activities? Because Finland is a person of importance, a scribe of value in the Roman system, a very Daniel come to judgment, valuable indeed in Glennon's campaign for a cardinal hat. The citation referred to above is taken from a copyrighted sermon which appeared in the Western Watchman, June 27, 1912, under the heading Catholics are royal now, they will be divine, and which sermon was delivered by priest Editor Finland on Sunday, June 30, 1912. He says, "We of the Catholic Church are ready to go to the death for the church. Under God, she is supreme object of our worship. Tell us that we think more of the church than we do of the United States. Of course we do. Tell us we are Catholics first and Americans or Englishmen afterwards. Of course we are. Tell us in the conflict between the church and the civil government we take the side of the church. Of course we do. Why? If the government of the United States were at war with the church, we would say tomorrow, to hell with the government of the United States. And with the church and all the governments of the world were at war, we would say to hell with all the governments of the world. They say we are Catholics first and Americans decidedly afterwards. There is no doubt about it. We are Catholics first, and we love the church more than we love any and all governments of the world. And we love the church more than we love our fathers and mothers. And we love the church more than we love our very own children. Why? Because we are children of the Church of Jesus Christ. And he says, unless you leave father, mother, sister, brother, kinsfolk, and acquaintances for my sake, you are not worthy of me. I love the people of America. I love the people of every nation. I glory in their loyalty. But let the governments of the world steer clear of the Catholic Church. Let the emperors, let the kings, let the presidents not come in conflict with the head of the Catholic Church. Because the Catholic Church is everything to all the Catholics of the world. They renounce all nationalities where there is a question of loyalty to her. And why is it the Pope is so strong? Why is it that this country, where we have only 7% of population, the Catholic Church, is so much feared? She is loved by all her children and feared by everybody. Why is it the Pope is in such tremendous power? Why? The Pope is the ruler of the world. All the emperors, all the kings, all the princes, all the presidents of the world today are as these little altar boys of mine. The Pope is the ruler of the world. Why? Because he is the ruler of the Catholics of the world. The Catholics of the world and the Catholics of all the world would die for the rights of the Pope. He is the head of the church, and they would die for the church, and the church is the church of Jesus Christ, and they need not have any misgivings on that score. There need not be no misconceptions there. The Catholics of the world are Catholics first and always. They are Americans, they are Germans, they are French, and they are English afterward. In the selfsame sermon, priest editor Phelan, the dean and senior of the Roman Catholic Journalists, spokesman-in-chief of Vaticanism, so declared and crowned with becoming papal laurels by Cardinal Satoli, bastard son of Leo XIII, and envoy extraordinary, as well as minister plenipotentiary of the Vatican in the United States, goes on to state, and even when Protestants come into the church, they find it profitable to say they are converts because they know the weakness of Catholics. The truth is, Catholics today look up to Protestants, and to paraphrase the words of the first Pope, I repeat, look down on Protestants. Yes, look down on them. The poorest Catholic boy in this parish is a prince compared with the best Protestant boy in this city. Look down on them all. We, the children of the inheritance, we, the children of God, have a right to look down upon the plebeians of heresy and infidelity. Now, I tell you, this is true in America, where we are all free and equal. Defending the infamous motu proprio decree of Pope Pius X, priest editor Phelan writes in his paper January 25th, 1913, what hypocrites those Protestants are. Rowdies they always were, but hypocrisy is now their most pronounced trait. Pius X did not retreat before the frenzy of the embattled Lutherans of Germany. He will not yield to the clamors of the hypocrites now. People are speaking for the Pope, and some of them very close to him. We are assured that the privilegium fori does not apply to Germany or to the States with concordance. Don't mind all such statements. Pius X, Phelan, to the contrary, notwithstanding, yielding to the demand or command of Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany, did, soon after the issuance of the in tempore decree, declare it inapplicable to Germany. Had our government taken due steps to inform the world that any man in these United States declaring illegal American marriage null and void would be visited with sternest punishment, no new tempore papal legislation would break up American homes or bastardize American children born in lawful American wedlock. Forgive me, I couldn't say that word. The attitude of priest editor Phelan towards America and American institutions is in strictest accordance with papal fulminations. In his encyclical dated at Rome, December 25th, 1891, Pope Leo XIII said, the American public under Protestant rulers is the worst enemies of the Church. This republic, having seized upon the lands discovered by Christopher Columbus, a Catholic, and usurped the authority and jurisdiction of the supreme head of the Church, the United States is filled with obscure heretics. The Catholics have been oppressed, and the preachers are in iniquity The Catholics have been oppressed and the preachers of iniquity established. With deep sorrow, we are now constrained to have recourse to the arm of justice and are obliged to take action against a nation that has rejected the Pope as head of all church and state governments. The eminence of the issues raised in my work, Romanism, a Menace to the Nation, and alluded to but briefly in this letter, urges an emphatic appeal to you, Mr. President, to arrest without harshness or injustice to any section of our very much mixed population, the Romanizing and Jesuitizing of this republic. Two recent incidents offer proof very conspicuous and truly alarming of Romanistic efforts in this fateful direction, aided and abetted, unfortunately, by a man eminent in American public life. The Roman Catholic organ of this city, the Catholic Telegraph, March 6, 1913, where appears this very striking narrative. Me, Taft, and the K of C. One of the last private functions attended by Mr. Taft was a reception given to him by the Knights of Columbus last Saturday evening in their hall on East Street. The building was packed. An address of welcome, of appreciation, and of farewell was delivered by one of the eloquent members of the fraternity. The president, in his reply, said, "I am very much touched by the cordial and altogether too nattering tone of your welcome and of your kindly farewell. I am going to a humble station to work out as best as I can the problem of supporting a family and of doing as well as you can for other people. You have no motive, I can conceive of none, except that of goodwill, good fellowship, and sincerity." He then urged that the Constitution should be safeguarded because it represents 1,000 years of struggle for liberty and protected by law, and he made a plea for the independence of judiciary because finally the courts are the guardians of our rights under the Constitution. He was frequently applauded. At the conclusion of his impressive address, he put this sentiment and signature on a large steel portrait of himself, which will be framed to adorn the council hall. For the Knights of Columbus of Washington, D.C., with heartfelt gratitude for their cordial farewell, W.H. Taft, March 1st, 1913. His visit will long be remembered by the Knights in Washington. What a heritage, sir, Mr. Taft has left you. The Knights of Columbus have been long dear to his heart. Addressing the body at Portland, Oregon, October 12, 1911, Taft stated, "Instead of being a reason why you cannot be patriotic, loyal sons of the United States, willing to yield your lives if occasion calls, the fact that you are members of the Roman Catholic Church in the United States is an assurance that you are such patriotic, loyal citizens. If, sir, it is the cheerful duty of Romanus as priest editor Finland so clearly states it to be, to say to hell with the United States, should the United States dare differ from the Vatican, to hell with all governments of the world, should the government declare independence of papacy, then strange indeed must be your predecessor's view of patriotic loyal citizenship. The true loyal and patriotic American citizen is loyal to America first, last, and all the time, regardless of desire, decree, edict, or ukase of foreign pontiff, Kaiser, Czar, or potentate of any dignity or description whatsoever. You are, sir, a son of old Virginia, a state which made such generous sacrifices of blood and treasure for the doctrine of state-aids. The war between the states did not eliminate the doctrine from American political economy, but gave it more permanency through a clearer, more definite, and enduring definition. Enemy of that basic American principle of government is the Roman Catholic Church, the powerful ally of organized alcoholic endeavor in every state of the Union, where liquor selling and liquor drinking have foothold, legal or illegal. That church so closely tied up as it is financial interest and property development with the liquor trade, wholesale and retail. Mr. Taft paid, in the closing days of his reactionary and retrogressive administration, marked homage, testified to very fully by the Catholic Telegraph already cited. The Webb Liquor Bill, the bill introduced by Representative Edwin Y. Webb of South Carolina to prohibit the interstate shipment of intoxicating liquors from wet into dry states to be used in violation of the local prohibition law, which passed both houses of Congress by large majorities, was on February 28th vetoed by President Taft, who said, "After giving this proposed enactment full consideration, I believe it to be a violation of the Interstate Commerce Clause of the Constitution, in that it is in substance and effect a delegation by Congress to the states of the power of regulating interstate commerce in liquors, which is vested exclusively in Congress." Mr. Taft supported his veto with citations of Supreme Court decisions and with an opinion by Attorney General Wickersham, confirmatory of the holding that the bill is unconstitutional. 2 hours after the veto was signed, the Senate passed the bill again by a vote of 63 to 21, and on March 1st, the House passed it again by a vote of 244 to 95. So it is now law and will remain law until a case can be cited by the United States Supreme Court. No blow more lethal at states' rights at the social security and moral uplift of Southern homes, especially, could have been struck than the Taft veto of the Webb liquor bill. How the Bacillian cohorts of Rome's loyal and patriotic citizens applauded the president's actions. How zealously will this same element of moral turpitude and decay labor to induce the Supreme Court of the nation to tear down the barrier so honorably set up by Congress between the homes of the South and the forces of liquor and lust. What manner of men the Jesuits are is attested by a writer of national fame, Honorable R.W. Thompson, former Secretary of the Navy, who, in his celebrated work, The Footprints of the Jesuits, openly charges the infamous body with the poisoning of Pope Clement XIII. The impracticable demands of the Jesuits had brought on such an issue between the spiritual and temporal powers as to leave no ground for concessions on the part of the sovereigns, so long as they were persisted in. They were bound to maintain their own temporal powers within their dominions, or else allow the Jesuits to rule over them according to their pleasure. To this they could not submit without absolute derogation. However strange it may now appear that the Pope did not see this sooner, it should be regarded as credible to him that, when he did see it, he bowed his head humbly before the pelting storm and yielded to a necessity he could not avoid. Due credit should not be withheld from the man who does right even at the last extremity, especially when, as in this case, after Clement XIII decided to change his course, he went to the extent of promising the sovereigns that he would pronounce the abolition of the society in a public consistory, and leave the Jesuits to suffer the consequences of their own folly. Having made up his mind to this, a day was appointed for the performance of the solemn act of signing the death warrant of the Jesuits, but this postponement led to a result which had not been dreamed of, one that furnished new evidence of the capacity of the Jesuits for intrigue. During the night preceding the day appointed for the public ceremony of announcing the abolition of the Jesuits, Clement XIII was suddenly seized with convulsions and died, leaving the act unperformed and the Jesuits victorious. Cormenin, writing in France, where the Jesuits are better known and understood than here, records this event in these terse and expressive words: "The Jesuits had poisoned him." Oh, wow. Page 223 and 224. The Jesuits put up a vigorous fight to elect a successor of Clement XIII, friendly to their society. The story of their failure is thus impartially cited. It required 3 months to elect a successor to Clement XIII. The cardinals were divided into two parties, one supporting the Jesuits and the other the governments of France, Spain, and Portugal, united in opposition to them. The former desired to subject all civil governments to Jesuit dominion. The latter insisted that the church and state should remain free and independent of the other in its own domain. After innumerable intrigues, such as are familiar to those who manipulate party conventions, the latter party triumphed by the election of Gangalini, a Franciscan monk who took the name of Clement XIV and entered upon the pontificate in 1769. To Pope Clement XIV, Mr. Thompson pays just tribute. He was greatly esteemed for his virtues and possessed a conspicuously noble character and a mind well and thoroughly disciplined. That he was a man of profound ability is abundantly shown by his letters, which have been preserved and published, and which contain many passages of exceeding eloquence and beauty. He was far better prepared, therefore, to form intelligent and impartial conclusions upon the evidence concerning the Jesuits than Clement XIII, because, apart from his qualifications, he was not under the dominion of undue prejudice. Clement XIV courageously ordered the continuance of the investigation of the charges made against the Jesuits already entered upon, till it should be completed, and determined that the questions involved should be decided according to right and justice. This, says Mr. Thompson, was due to the sovereigns, to the public, and especially to the church. Cormenin says he was suspicious of being dealt with like his predecessor, and that he took the necessary precautions to guard against it by substituting a faithful monk for the cook of the Quirinal. so as to guard against the possibility of poison. However this may have been, he persevered in his course with the courage of a man who fears no evil when in the faithful discharge of duty. Resolved, however, not to act with undue haste, but to have all matters brought full before him, together with the evidence bearing upon them, he continued the investigation the period of 4 years, so that when his final decision was made, the world should be convinced that it was the result of calm deliberation and honest conviction. He says of himself that he omitted no care, no pains in order to arrive at a thorough knowledge of the origin, the progress, and the actual state of that regular order commonly called the Company of Jesus. And rank, the great historian says, he applied himself with the utmost attention to the affairs of the Jesuits, and adds that a commission of cardinals was formed. The arguments of both sides were deliberately considered before his conclusion was announced. No greater deliberation, no more serious reflection could have been bestowed upon any question. The evidence was carefully inspected and everything duly considered. The scales were held at equipoise until the preponderance of proof caused the beam to turn against the Jesuits, when he was constrained by a sense of duty to the Church, to Christianity, to the public, and to his own conscience, to announce the results which gave the peace and quiet to the nations and joy to the great body of Christians throughout Europe. Thus he did, July 21st, 1773, by issuing his celebrated bull, Dominus ac Redemptor, called by the Jesuits a brief, whereby he decreed that the name of the company shall be and is forever extinguished and suppressed, that no one of them do carry their audacity so far as to impugn, combat, or even write or speak about the said suppression or the reasons and motives of it, and that the said bull of suppression and abolition shall forever to all eternity be valid, permanent, and efficacious. Wow. Of what did Pope Clement XIV find the Jesuits guilty? He declares that, charged with things very detrimental to the peace and tranquility of the Christian Republic by various sovereigns who had from time to time complained of them, Pope Sixtus V had found accusations against them just and well-founded. Hold on 1 minute. The doggies are barking. Oh, because Richard's home. Okay. And founded. He enumerates 11 popes, including Benedict XIV, who had employed without effect all their efforts to provide remedies against the evils they had engendered. He accuses them of opposition to other religious orders, charges them with great loss of souls and great scandal of the people, with the practice of certain idolatrous ceremonies, with the use of maxims which the Church had proscribed as scandalous and manifestly contrary to good morals, with revolts and intestine troubles in some of the Catholic states, and with persecutions against the Church in both Europe and Asia. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm going to end that there. We're at 42 mark. I'll pick it up later. Keep your eyes on Jesus, your nose in the book, which is the Word of God. And embed the Word of God upon the tablets of your heart, my heart, so we will not sin against God or be deceived. You have a great evening. Bye-bye.